Turn on your mind and turn up that radio. It's AM Beaver County on 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and 1460 WMBA.
And we're back on this Friday morning edition of AM Beaver County. And now we're joined in studio by Sally Mann. I'm pronouncing that correct, right?
Mahon.
Mahon.
Yes.
And we're talking today about an event that's going on this weekend that's been going on for several years. How long has it been going on?
22 years.
22 years.
Yeah, because we had to cancel. We would have been 23, but COVID made us cancel a year. So yeah, we're right on with the calendar year 22.
Yeah. Hey, it makes things simple. It's like what year of Darlington Days is it? It's a year in the calendar.
You're right. Yeah.
So we are talking about Darlington Days, which starts today. And when I say today, I mean like today, because there are people already, as you were saying right before we got on, there are already people out there getting their yard sales ready and up for the weekend ahead. And it is just one of the many things that Darlington Days is all about. It's about all things Darlington, historical, in the now, everything else. So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
What made Darlington Days what it is back when it first started 22 years ago, or 23, I guess?
So what a lot of people don't realize is Darlington holds so much history. And the historical societies in the area, they thrive for people. And people just don't shuffle through historical societies like they want. So to bring Darlington alive with its history and just pretty much fellowship of the town, getting people together, is pretty much how Darlington Days started. Because we hold so much history. We have 3 buildings full, plus the Beaver County Industrial, full of information that they want people to see. We're a little town, but we hold so much history. We're big in history, so it's nice to be able to share that with the community.
It is, and it's one of those things where, everybody gathers to, when they find out how much has gone on in that town and how much has gone on in Beaver County over the last, even 50 years, going back 100 years, 200 years, all of a sudden you're just like immersed in this world of, history, and it's all surrounded by things that are still there today, because Darlington, much like everybody else, has, had its shares of changes over the course of the years as well.
Yes, you're right. We do. The Historical Society, what's amazing is every time I go there, and this is probably for everybody that shuffles through Darlington Days, you find something new. Like, I didn't see this the last time that I came through. Well, no, it's because they are constantly digging up artifacts of some sort and putting out for display. So no matter how many times you've said, oh, I went through that museum, but there's new, experience the new. There is new. So that's the cool part to me. I've been in those museums hundreds of times, but I'm always like, what is this? Like, when did this come in?
Yeah.
So yeah, they work hard.
It is a great thing that they do. And on top of that, history is such a vast space of everything. So like you say, that's why they get new stuff, because, they'll discover something new. And then when they put it in there, the people who are coming through will discover something new. And that does create this perpetuity of, endless historical information about Beaver County and Darlington in particular.
Yeah.
But of course, one of the parts of Darlington Days that's, historic, but also in the now, is what's going on in a place that really only exists in a few places around the world. And that is the Darlington Polo Fields and the Polo Club, which will be having a match tonight for the first night of Darlington Days.
Yep. This is their out the gate game, the Bob Lackner annual memorial match. And then actually, if you can't make it into town tonight, they're doing a 2:00 polo game tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
For people that might not, make it to Darlington for Under the Lights show. It's definitely a game, shall I say. It's definitely something that you got to see under the lights. But so tomorrow, if they have never experienced it, they'll get to experience it with a 2:00 game. But yeah.
Now that's not something that they've done in the past, has it? I mean, usually it's just a Friday night game and that's it.
Right.
So it's interesting that they're going with the Saturday game this year for a change. But that's also a good thing, because, again, even though I tend to agree with you, you have to experience it under the lights before you experience, because that's something that really doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. But for those who just want to see the game itself, they have that opportunity tomorrow as well.
Right. Yes, they do. if you've never experienced a polo match, it's a match, but it's crazy and amazing to see how many people are actually into it whenever it's only a Friday night game. I mean, Darlington, we do have quite a few Friday night games, but the crowd gets into it. I mean, it's a good feeling. And you just look around and you see people gathering and hanging out and getting together, and kids being kids running around. And so the atmosphere, the Lions Club putting on food, like, it's just an amazing little place. You're right. Not a lot of people get that. We have that.
Yeah. And what I think too is the great thing about it is sort of this hybrid where, you know, because of its uniqueness, it's a world-class level of competition, because there's not, again, that many places in the world that can do night polo games. So clearly those who are there for the competition. But because it is in a small place like Darlington, it's sort of this almost, you know, sort of like a fair type of event where, you know, you have, like you say, kids run around the stands, you know, local organizations making the food. And with summer being around the corner, it almost feels like the perfect kickoff event to, you know, get into the role of, you know, this is summertime and, you know, we're going out to the fairs in the small towns, and Darlington Days has like sort of the gateway to that this weekend.
Yeah, we are. Last year we had to do a fall event because of COVID. We kind of backed it up a little bit. And I have to say, it didn't feel the same because we are the gate opener of festivals in the area, and it just wasn't the same. We didn't appreciate fall as much as we do spring. It's much more better time, a much better time for us to, everybody's ready to get out there and have fun.
Yes, and the weather for this weekend couldn't be any better for.
Yes, yeah. We always avoid that word with the R for Darlington Days because normally it's one of the days we get hit, and this year it's just a perfect back to normal, eye opener, come out and enjoy kind of a thing. So yeah, no R word.
No, none of that. No 4-letter R words in this particular case with Darlington Days. So tonight is the polo match. Tomorrow is the parade, and the parade is something that, you know, is sort of one of the staples of Darlington Days too, for a number of reasons. Most notably for those who are trying to get, you know, to some of the yard sales or events. You know, if they're not there for the parade or they're not set to go in the first thing in the morning, they might find themselves a little bit back behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah, our parade is something. Fire departments come in as far as Raccoon Township, like.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's amazing. We get ones from Ohio that come over to enjoy Darlington. It's become like an annual thing for them, so they've continued, and just to see all the farm tractors that come through, the antique cars, all of the little local organizations and businesses in town, they participate. So our parade is something. It
is, and it's. And even for a small town like Darlington, it still creates a long stretch of road where they'll, you know, be marching through, and, you know, everybody's lined up and they're ready with, you know, bated breath as, you know, all these different, you know, fire trucks and organizations come through. And again, it's a bit of a, you know, not, you know, a lot of parades through towns are just sort of a straight route. Darlington, not quite the same, because
you are right. Yep.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a curve and an angle to some of the route, but again, that's what makes it unique, and that's, you know, something too where, you know, people will be like, oh, you know, they just go through the main street of town. No, they will go through the back streets in this town. They will make sure that they incorporate as much of Darlington as they can. Yep,
we do. It's a zigzag, but the biggest fire truck can make the turn, so it happens.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Is like it's got to be the fire truck that if the fire truck can't make the turn, then we can't make that turn either. So
they do it.
But it's impressive. It's impressive, and it does, again, bring the people together. And then, of course, there are the community yard sales that are throughout town. And I know the Knights of Columbus Local Council, they have one of the biggest ones.
Oh, yes. That's the biggest in town, yes.
Yes. But at the same time, you know, those are open all 3 days for anyone who is in the area, whether it's before the polo match, after the parade, they can go by and swing by some of the yard sales. And, you know, the connection that the people at these places, because again, this is mostly just people's houses,
right? They
just connect with everybody in such a great way that it, you know, it feels very, you know, in town, very homely, and it just creates a wonderful, well environment to be in.
Yep, you're right. That's where the fellowship comes in to me. You meet new people. You meet your neighbors that you might have never met before. You know, the yard sales open up the door for for a lot. I mean, junk stuff and other people's treasures, and you meet somebody new. So
that's true. Or you may meet somebody you haven't seen in a very long time,
right.
because if the festival brings out as many people as it does, there's going to be somebody in there. It's like, hey, I haven't seen you the longest time. How you been? And
right.
again, that also adds to the appeal of Darlington Days. Now, we mentioned the polo game and the parade. Is there any other special events going on this weekend as far as Darlington Days, as far as things that usually wouldn't happen in Darlington on a weekend?
Usual. I know that the Historical Society has some people coming in that are dressed up in circa of certain eras.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be circulating through the museum. So that's something new. That'll be interesting to see, they're dressed and how they are in play of that era of that they're recognized. Then we we moved our car show uptown last year because our car show used to be at Jack's, and the Gishbachers have since sold Jack's. And so we brought the car show downtown, and last year that R word played into effect of the car show. So that's kind of new for Sunday. Downtown on Market is our car show. So we have the main street closed down, which is Market Street that goes through town, and the cars back into the curb. And we're hoping to line up cars from one closure to the other. So because of the great weather that we're going to have. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the car show is fun. We give out trophies, dash plaques, registration, freebie. So if you have something, whatever you have, whether it's a antique car, military Jeep, big truck, bring it out. Then my husband and a group of guys do also on Sunday. It's called the Cannonball Run. Have you ever heard of it?
Cannonball. I maybe, but please fill me in, because I just refresh my memory and everybody else's.
So it's a group of guys. I think they have 7 now on their committee. They do a motorcycle poker run on Sunday. They leave Greersburg Tavern, and they travel around. This year, I believe it's a 50 or a 60-mile trip. And all of the money that they raise, 100% goes back into the community. These guys did our Welcome to Darlington sign in the middle of town. They fundraised for 2 years to pay for that sign and have it erected where it is. Beautiful sign. They just are finishing up. They relayed the brick around the Daniel Leisure Monument because it was getting very aged and lifting.
Right.
So that's where their money goes back into the community. And it's amazing to see what accomplishments. I'm getting choked up because there's only 7 guys, but they accomplish so much for the little town, and they love it as much as we love seeing what they do. So motorcycles are welcome, cars are welcome, trucks are welcome. That's a Sunday event. Sunday after morning, they kickstands up at 11:45 at Greersburg Tavern. So that's another cool thing that goes on in Darlington that not a lot of people realize. Everything else is pretty much the same, the usual schedule.
Okay.
But like I said, it doesn't matter how many times you've been through the museums, there's always something new. New faces, new vendors. We always get new vendors, just a little bit of a variety. And if you haven't noticed in circulation, we do our newspaper now, the Darlington Tribune.
Right.
There's a ton of stories in there. Rachel Wagner, she writes for the Farm and Dairy also. She's helped write some stories for us to bring out new in our community and the history. So it's a good paper. It's a mix of everything. So if you haven't got a copy, check a local convenience store or get one while you're in town. It's a good pub.
I happen to have a copy of it right here.
Yeah.
The Darlington Tribune right there.
Well, if you notice on the front, the Vance Duff House, this is something new to Darlington. But I believe this weekend she's booked.
Oh, is it?
Yes. It's an Airbnb. It's an old Victorian home. It's an Airbnb. It's on the back street by the Reformed Church and a couple of the museums. Beautiful place. Wow, for Darlington. Wow. And she's booked quite a bit. Wow. It's a beautiful place. So even if you drive by, it's in the newspaper. We posted some pictures. Beautiful place.
That is awesome. That is awesome to hear because, again, for all the things we hear about, small towns are just small towns. No, if small towns are places where people gather and have a good time, then it's going to showcase itself when places are booked like that. And of course, the parade's going to be booked with people from street to street, and it's all going to be a great thing. Now, if anyone has any, curiosity, because I know we mentioned the Darlington Tribune, if they have any other quandaries or questions, or they just want to find out more details about Darlington Days, where can they find the information?
We do have a website, www.darlingtondays.com, but our Facebook, I'm constantly on there, posting, going live, especially. Last year I started going live because of COVID, and I knew and understood that people couldn't come out that wanted to come out and experience. Right. So as live music is under the tent, I'll pop in and do a live for a little bit, just so that I get it. There's people that can't make it anymore that have moved. They still want to experience Darlington. So our Facebook is very active. I try to keep it going, whether I hand off my phone to somebody else or I do it. We try to keep the connection there on Facebook. The website is just a little bit hard to do it out in the field.
Yeah, understandable.
While things are happening. So that's where the action is. And I have a gentleman this year that's going to try to help me with an Instagram.
Oh.
I don't have time for all of that.
Right.
I do Facebook, but I don't have a lot of time for other social media. So he's going to help broaden our audience through that. So hopefully that's another good place to go to check out pictures, at least from the weekend.
I agreed, because again, even though, like we said, it's a small town, it can reach the world now. So, Sally, thank you so much for joining me this morning and talking about Darlington Days. And I look to make it out at some point this weekend. I mean, it's gonna be a busy one, but it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be worth it.
It is. It's gonna be beautiful. So come out and visit us. We're there. We want people. So yes, please stop by. The info booth is right there in the middle of town. If you you can't get lost, but if you get lost and you need information, that's where you need to go, is the info booth. We'll be there waiting.
Agreed. Again, Sally, thank you so much, and hopefully Darlington has a great weekend ahead. It looks like all systems are going to be firing for that to happen.
Yes, no R word.
No R word.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're listening to AM Beaver County. News is next here on Beaver County Radio and BeaverCountyRadio.com.
Rodgers and Hammerstein's masterpiece, Carousel, the musical.